landscape of football boot marketing is changing. Some of the bigger brands are losing their leverage in the market, and there's new brands entering the market that players would rather sign with. After 15 years of Puma, Antoine Griezmann has decided not to renew his endorsement deal with the German brand and instead signing with Decathalon. And this pre-season, he's already been spotted wearing a blacked out pair of the Kipstyle CLR. Now this follows a more recent trend where we are seeing more and more high-profile players sign with brands outside of the big three. We've seen Harry Kane sign with Skechers, Bukayo Saka with New Balance, and Sergio Ramos with Mizuno. And that's just because the landscape of boot marketing or just endorsement deals in general when it comes to football is changing drastically. And there's several reasons for it. One is personal branding. Rather than signing with one of the big three brands, players are now signing with lesser brands which more align with their interests and values. And these lesser brands are able to put these players more at the forefront of their marketing ad campaigns, which in turn can lead to more commercial opportunities for players. Take Bukayo Saka, for example. Who's to say that being the star boy of New Balance football hasn't led to him getting more commercial opportunities, such as partnering with Burberry or British GQ? There is a pecking order when it comes to endorsement and how well some players are sponsored or featured in some of these marketing ad campaigns. And I mean this by no disrespect. If Saka was at Nike, there's no way that Nike would put him ahead of Vinicius or Mbappe when it comes to like marketing the material, for example, even though they should. So him signing to a lesser brand such as New Balance allows him to, like I said, be at the forefront of his marketing ad campaigns, which in turn suits his interests better. So in short, nowadays signing for Nike, Puma and ADIDAS isn't as a big a deal as it used to be for players. Another reason is a change in marketing strategies from these brands. We have to remember that these brands are not teams, so will work and operate differently from each other. More on that later actually. Each brand that we see has their own unique branding when it comes to football. Take for example ADIDAS. When it comes to kits and boots over the last year, you can clearly see that their kind of branding within football is that of a company that pays respect to tradition and values while still being modern. And when it comes to marketing, brands will also do things differently. Nike recently announced that they are cutting funds and withdrawing and pulling back a bit from the R&D within football until at least 2026. So what they're doing to kind of deal with this like cutting funds is, number one, they're not offering endorsement deals to players over the age of 30, and also being much more selective with which players that they do offer endorsement deals. Now they're only sticking with like the cream of the crop, so Mbappe, Haaland, like the best of the best of players. Whereas before, like pretty much almost everyone could get a boot deal with Nike. Of course there's like different tiers, but like even now they're making more restrictions when it comes to that. It's also the reason why Nike have chosen not to renew the endorsements of a lot of players that they've once had before, the likes of Sergio Ramos, Harry Kane, etc. That gives a lot more players the freedom to actually wear what boots they actually want or to sign with other brands. Now, another reason, and it kind of connects to the previous one that I've just said, but a lot of brands have smelt blood and now they're increasing their presence within football or their new competitors coming into the market. And I think that all has to do with the upcoming World Cup in 2026. We've seen the likes of Sakito and Skechers come into the market, for example. And I also predict that we'll see a lot more brands either re-enter after like years of not being interested in making football boots, as well as more new competitors who make maybe footwear in other departments come into this market as well. And with the big brands not having the monopoly that they once had, and a lot more players caring about their interpersonal branding, I think it'll be much easier for lesser brands, quote unquote, to get high profile players in their products. Okay, I'd also like to clarify that high profile doesn't necessarily mean like one of the best players in the world. In a marketing sense, it could be where or who they played for, where they come from, or things outside of football that kind of make them a bit more marketable. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking that a player leaving one of the big three to sign with a lesser brand is a downgrade. But let's speak more to the psychology of why you actually think that. Because you see, the way Nike, Puma or Adidas market their products, they do it in such a way that it almost kind of brainwashes us. And they do this using endorsement deals with the best players and clubs in the world, as well as extravagant and outlandish marketing ads. And this is the effect that it has on consumers. So number one, because they have the best athletes and the best clubs associated with their brand, we as consumers automatically think that they're better and put them on a sort of pedestal. And consequently, we see brands who don't necessarily have like those stellar names attached to them as inferior, even if either trying one of their products. Effectively, we become brand snobs and we kind of see these boots or kits, etc. with like Nike, Adidas, Puma, whatever, the higher or bigger brands as kind of some form of like pseudo status symbol. And number two, because of the way brands market themselves, when we buy their products, we subconsciously think and feel better about ourselves, because now you're wearing the same products as some of your favorite players or your clubs, so you feel closer to them and you now have a close affinity to said brand. And because they're dealing or marketing within football, which is a team sport, when we buy these brands, we somewhat feel like we're part of the same team, or start to view these different brands as teams. For example, how people think it's a crime to kind of mix brands, so you can't wear ADIDAS boots with Nike socks or Puma shorts with ADIDAS boots, you know, that kind of rubbish. And even more recently, we've seen the great stuff ADIDAS have done with like bringing back the F50, also bringing back the folding tongue to the Predator, and just the overall marketing that they've done in this calendar year has just been phenomenal. And then a lot of the comments about what Adidas have done is that Nike need to do something. And this goes back to seeing these brands as like teams. Yes, they are competitors in the market, but at the same time, if Adidas is doing well, why do you feel Nike need to do something? Because at the end of the day, what Nike do, if Nike was just to pull back from football completely, what effect would that have on you? No, nothing really. You're not going to stop playing football because Nike aren't making products anymore. And it goes back to that kind of subconscious feeling of being more associated with the brand. Because another brand is doing better than your favorite brand, you feel that they need to do something in response, because it makes you feel better about yourself. And when they feel like they're losing, it feels like you're losing as well. So in short, when it comes to brands, it's important to just see them as brands and try to disassociate any kind of personal attachment that you have to them. And there are no downgrades when it comes to endorsement deals. At the end of the day, players will just sign with brands which suit their personal interests the best. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like the new diversity of all these different brands in the football market, or do you like the monopoly of Nike, Adidas and Puma, which is still present to this day, but you prefer that kind of three being there forever? And also, what kind of high profile player would you like to see sign with a lesser brand if you're interested in seeing that kind of thing? Let me know in the comments. And like always, my name is Sub, this has been Substanceable. Thank you for watching. See you next time.